Deep intake of breath, everyone. Hello, welcome to Carrow Road. Friday night, of course, Norwich City taking on Oxford this evening. 8 o'clock kickoff here, which means team news to drop in 5 minutes' time. Brace yourselves is, I think, what we can say, because there's going to be plenty to digest and dissect and talk about and analyse. We are going to be, I'm afraid, talking about more injury concerns, more absences, and on top of what is already, Paddy Davitt, a pretty bloated list for Norwich City.
Yeah, hair looks lovely, says Glenn. Sorry. Completely thrown me.
Done something with it today? Or?
Grown it, that's about it. Yeah, no, I've got too many little people to deal with to brush my hair. But won't be good, mate. Yeah, won't be good. We won't preempt, but we'll all discover in due course. But trying to think what was there was one, in this long catalogue, there was one game where we did the team news, and it was literally, was it Sheffield United? It might have been Sheffield United away. Yeah. This will top it. So, we will find out in due. Well, the world will find out in due course. But we don't want to get our wrists slapped, metaphorically. So, but it's good. And in the context of it's for me tonight, and it's next Tuesday, 6 points, nothing less, or playoffs. You can forget about it. So it doesn't improve their chances any now.
No, we're talking about a couple, I'm afraid, of Norwich City players not here tonight that obviously weren't mentioned in yesterday's press conference, and that was already a big list, wasn't it, Paddy, in terms of those who weren't available. Obviously, the headline being Lewis Dobbin and Ben Krezene being out for the season, Jurasek clearly being built up as well, Forson not yet back, George Long out with a concussion. You might have to help me out with some of the others. Liam Gibbs, obviously Gabe Forsyth now needing surgery. Yeah. It's a long old list, isn't it?
Forsyth, yeah.
Kenny's back. That's good.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Can he play in 4 different positions? Yeah. He
tried that last season, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not... well, obviously, the byproduct is I've seen more talk about, even by 1 or 2 ex-players, very well-known ex-players around the parish, talking about, like, this has gone beyond the realms of sort of bad luck or just injuries that you get in the run of the mill. Maybe there's other issues, and we've touched on them in previous podcasts, so we don't need to reopen that can of worms. We'll be here till gone kick-off. But on top of that, what's about to hit does make you think, root and branch, maybe look at the science, sports science, fitness, medical, recovery, all of those elements, because I don't recall a season like it, and I've been doing this job quite a long time. So
I think it's been 2 weeks, hasn't it, since the last injury crisis?
As long as that, yeah.
Maybe.
So, I was thinking this on the walk down, really, that, on this aspect, you can start from a perspective at one end of the spectrum, it's just rank bad luck, and this is one of those seasons unlike any other. Or the other side is, there's some serious overhaul needed of the various recovery departments, or probably on a case-by-case basis, it's somewhere in between, and that's the reality. But, you would be remiss if you're not Ben Napper and Johannes Torp. You get to the end of the season and you don't have a serious look at how they've managed injuries, how they've tried to rehab, how they've managed. Jurasek, that's just a joke, really. They pay $6 million for a player, wait, because of Brexit regulations, to get him involved. He plays 20 minutes here against Preston, 60 against Hull, and now he's not robust enough for the Championship. That's just laughable, really. So, and that's not the only case, really. You could probably look under the bonnet. But there we are. That's what it is, and they're the cards that we're playing with. Has that team news dropped yet, Connor?
Not yet. We're a minute or so away. It's really hard to obviously want to speak about something that we're not yet allowed to speak about. So we will wait for the minute until it's announced. But yeah, you're right. I think the reality is probably somewhere in between. And you get instances like, for example, the Ben Krezene one, where he's been absolutely halved by a player that, that was a yellow card on the day. I think it should have been a red watching it back. There's nothing you can do about that. Obviously, the Dobbin one, clearly, even though I know Johannes said it was a different calf, even then, I think you have to maybe ask why. Here is the team news. So the headline news for Norwich City: no Angus Gunn, no Marcelino Nunez. Both, we understand, hamstring injuries, which means, and looking down the list as well, no Shane Duffy in the starting lineup, although he is on the bench. So that means Norwich City lineup like this: Vicente Reyes in goal, Stacey, Doyle, Cordoba and Fisher is the back four. Wright, Sorensen and Slimani is the midfield three. Sienat's Sainz behind. Captain Josh Sargent this evening. So just to run through that again, Vicente Reyes, big night for him, his first Norwich City start. Stacey, Doyle, Cordoba and Fisher at the back four. Right, Sorensen and Slimani, the midfield three. Sienats and Sainz on either flank, and Josh Sargent up front. The subs bench, Dan Barden, who obviously recalled from Swindon. I think that's been done very, very early. The subs bench, Duffy McConville, Kenny McLean returns to that, Uriah Jeje, Oscar Schwartau, Onel Hernandez, Elliot Miles, and Emi Marcondes. Deep breaths. Paddy, where do you want to start?
Not even in the 11.
No, he's on the bench.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's staggering. That is. Where do I want to start? Well,
let's start with Angus, shall we? Because I think it's been maybe a little bit of an open secret that he wasn't going to play tonight and wasn't going to be involved tonight. Hamstring injury picked up. We understand at Blackburn, jumping over an advertising board, which is just where this season is at, really.
As opposed to kicking an electronic scoreboard at QPR. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Maybe you should just stay away from them. Let's start with that. Obviously, a big blow for Norwich City. What a night it is for Vicente Reyes, first Norwich City start.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think we're breaching any confidences. I think, Barden, they've managed to get him recalled from Swindon, but he's got fitness issues, isn't he? And Archie Mayer has clearly got fitness issues as well. And obviously, George Long concussion protocol. Johannes said yesterday, Monday onwards, they can reintegrate him. So, new contract in your back pocket for your Reyes, and then your first, debut, isn't it? Thinking about it, he's not played any minutes at all in the Norwich shirt. Yeah, so. What an elevation for that man. I mean, he talked in his quotes yesterday around his contract that, the pathway that's been mapped out for him is as it was when he was first enticed to the club. But even he, I'm sure, wasn't expecting it to come as quickly as this, a championship debut for, a player who's been nowhere near Norwich's setup, first team-wise anyway. So, I mean, I talked about Barden there. For me, it evokes memories of, if you go back to, was it the second championship season under Farker, where Barden got thrown in. Yeah. It was here, wasn't it? Yeah. Because Mickey McGovern had to come in for Tim Krul. Then he got injured in the first half. Barden came in and played excellently in the second half of that game. I think it was QPR, wasn't it, here, if I'm not mistaken? But then he started at Cardiff, away, and they won the game. So, and we know, obviously, he had, real bad news in terms of, his health and having to overcome sort of a cancer diagnosis. But when he was thrown in, he sank rather than he swam rather than sank. Sorry. So I'm just hoping that Reyes is the swimming rather than the sink. I'm completely gone with that team news, even though I knew we basically knew where it was going. But even so, when you see the names on the team sheet who aren't involved, it just brings it home to you. But it is what it is. They really have no room for manoeuvre, because if Barden isn't quite fit enough, then Reyes is the man. And to be fair, they've recalled Reyes with a view to being the third in line over the back end of this season. Now he's the first in line. So we'll obviously bowl at Johannes in terms of Gunny's potential layoff. But, I mean, we're 1 week out from an international break. I don't expect we'll see him now until the other side of the international break, which means he's going to miss 3 games, which means, unless he gets himself injured, Vicente Reyes is going to be playing tonight, midweek, and Bristol away.
Well, Long's back on Tuesday, isn't he? Which maybe would change the debate. But I know what you're saying. Well, it's an opportunity for Reyes, isn't it?
Tonight.
Yeah, exactly. If he performs tonight, keeps a clean sheet, it's his to take, isn't it? Marcelino Nunez, not in the team, not in the squad. Sounds like another hamstring injury. Not good.
No, well, it goes back to the opening comments, isn't it? I mean, how many hamstrings has he had this season? Why is it that he's so susceptible to hamstrings? I meant to check, but I don't recall in his previous seasons he's been as beset by hamstring or muscular-related issues. I might be wrong. I'd have to double check that. But why this season? What is it that are the demands that have been placed on him that his body isn't seemingly able to deal with the load? So, again, we'll get clarity from Johannes after the game. There was no inclination yesterday that he was an issue, so we'll see what he says. But hamstrings are not something you come back from in a matter of days. Even best case scenario, it's the other side of the international break. So, and we know how big a miss he's been when he's been out of the side. That's why I was a little bit surprised, knowing that Nunez wasn't involved tonight, that they haven't gone, okay, Kenny, you've got to go straight back in. The fact that they've kept him in reserve. Right, Sorensen, Slimani, were they the 3 who were played against Preston? I think they might have been. Certainly Wright and Sorensen did that.
We'll check that. We'll get Adam to check that.
Well, if it was them 3, they'll need to be considerably better than they were against Preston that night, that's for sure. Even though, obviously, to be fair to Wright, he was thrown in because of Kenny in the warm-up having to pull out. But no Nunez is a major issue, because for me, I've said it a few times, he is, in terms of Johannes top central midfielder, he is the prototype. He can do what he needs. He can manoeuvre the ball around the pitch. He has that energy to get box to box. Him out of the side, there isn't another natural player can come in and do what he does. Just go back to the Stoke game here for an hour. He absolutely ran the show that day. He was brilliant. His range of passing, the tempo, the speed, the energy, the dynamism. That Norwich are going to miss all that tonight. And with the greatest respect, does Sorensen, does Slimani compensate for that? No.
Yeah, just on the Preston midfield, Oscar Schwartau was in there as well. So it's Wright, Slimani and Schwartau. I think we have seen this three, though, haven't we? I've got it in my head. They have started the game. It wasn't Derby, was it? I don't think he started against Derby. Hull's not a bad shout. It might have been Hull, actually. I think it was Hull. And they played all right. It started slowly, but it came on in the second half. Yeah, that was right. No Shane Duffy in the starting lineup, Paddy. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, all we'll probably say at this stage is that, and it's stating the obvious, but he's on the bench, so there's no fitness issue there. And we won't prejudge what Giannis is going to say about that post-match, but say something. I'm sure he will. And again, we won't react to something until we hear from the head coach. But safe to say, it's not a fitness-related issue. And again, that's very disappointing in the context of a senior player who's looking for leadership. I'm sure if you're Giannis, and clearly that hasn't been shown in the specific example that we're going to be referring to after the game. But I guess needs must. You can't really take him completely out of the 20 when they're down to the bare bones. But it's the last thing Giannis needs to deal with, and it's an issue which has come to light just pre-game. I think it's safe to say, and we'll probably leave it at that because I've been told not to say too much more at this stage pre-match.
What a shambles! Not that, but the whole situation. No, not this. Just the situation. I mean, like you said, in all your years covering the club, to have the injury list that they have at this moment in time is, and again, it's not the first time this season we've been here. Obviously, they've got the luxury of having different options. But yeah, it's not great. Two left footers in central defence, which is something that he spoke about earlier on in the season that he would like to do and like to see. Obviously, McConville was on the bench; he could have just stepped in, but I think given where Doyle's at, and particularly when you put in the context as well of losing Mahovo, losing Crisene, we've just seen him wander across the pitch in a big protective boot. He's out obviously for the rest of the season. A double left-footed partnership. That's going to be interesting to watch to see how that works out and plays.
Yeah, I mean, again, not by choice, because I'm sure he'd rather have gone Duffy and Cordoba and Doyle left-hand side of the defence. But, I mean, he talked about it earlier in the season, didn't he? He's not averse to that in terms of the build-up structure. There's a lot to like in that pairing. You've got Doyle on the ball, superb as a centre-back, stepping in, starting the play. And Cordoba, the last two games, has done, for me, as good a job as he could have done. And he's shown what, I think, with a run in the side and adapting to the Championship, what he will be, which is a very athletic defender who's capable of playing a high line. I mean, that was somebody, when we went down to speak to Ben Napper at Colney the other day, somebody who we won't name, but they made the point that playing, to be fair, I think Giannis mentioned it in one of his pressers, that with Cordoba in the side, you can play that higher line, be more aggressive, condense the play, which helps in terms of attacking-wise, because with his pace and athleticism, he is going to be able to run in behind and mop up, and we've seen evidence of that in these two games. He doesn't mind being isolated and having big spaces to defend, and that's basically what Giannis Torop is looking for in his centre-backs. Duffy isn't that, which is why, irrespective of what the episode is tonight, we'll get into it after the game, but I don't think he's a longer-term option because he just doesn't fit what Giannis Torop is looking for from his centre-backs. Cordoba very much does. His first signing, it's worth stressing. Yep. So him and Doyle, I'm not averse to that, but probably you'd rather it in slightly different circumstances. And obviously Stacey, an experienced player, I don't think it will phase him switching to the left-hand side. So
that is how it plays out.
If that's how it plays out,
yeah. I think it was West Brom, wasn't it, where Fisher went across there and did a decent job. And actually, I think if we bring up the Oxford team, you can see there's definitely going to be pace on that right side tonight, because Shami Poheta starts. So too does former Norwich City Academy graduate Alex Matos for Oxford on loan from Chelsea. They've got Cumming in goal, Tavers, Hellick, Brown and Moore as their back four. Brannigan and Volks, the midfield two. Poheta, Matos and Harris behind Romani, their bench. Matt Ingram, Sam Long, Matt Phillips, Idris El Masuni, Tyler Goodrum, Ruben Rodriguez, Sarike Dembele, Peter Chiozo and Stan Mills, which is son of Danny, I think.
Is it?
I think so. I think that's right. That is right, isn't it? Yeah, that is right. So I don't know how close to Norfolk he was or wasn't born, but there's a nice Norfolk link on their bench. But Let's go to Antti Sienats, Paddy. We'll come back, I think, to Shemiswar Poeta a little bit later. But Antti Sienats should have been the match winner at Ewood Park. Brilliant goal that he scored. You just hope that confidence is now flowing through his veins, don't you?
Well, why wouldn't it be? Because that was, I mean, it got better for me every time you watched it back. Just the technique, because it went like a cannon off his foot. It was just superbly struck ball, and that intent. That's what we want to see more of from him in the final third. Not looking a bit reticent and a bit, inhibited in his movement and his decision making. That was just instant, out of his feet, bang in the back of the goal, and that just underlines, what raw material you've got to work with. But as Johannes has said, liberally this season, he needs to extract that on a more regular basis. I don't think it's sufficient now to sort of say he's still getting to grips with it. He's had enough championship exposure now that you would expect that he would be able to basically deal with what this league's all about and what he needs to produce. So for me, in the context of the situation they've got with some of these other players out tonight, he's one who you would hope would carry on full of confidence from what he did at Ewood Park. And particularly now, he'll be looking at it in a very self-interested sense. No Jurassic, no Dobbin certainly in Dobbin's case for the rest of the season. Yep. He's got an opportunity to get himself back in because, the last few games he has come out of the side and he has been, the go-to from the bench. But I'm sure he wouldn't want that role. He'd want to be starting games. Well, carry on in the same vein as you did at Blackburn, and you would imagine with a fair wind he'll get a good run of games now over the last 10 or 11.
Yeah, and as much as we talk about some of the fitness issues, some of the players who aren't here or maybe are here but aren't in the starting 11, that team, Josh Sargent, Borja Sainz, Antti Sienats, Slimani, Wright, Doyle, I mean, that you'd hope that's still good enough at Carrow Road. What is the start of a very, very important week? I think we're both agreed that they need to take probably maximum points from these two home games. We can't have certainly a repeat of what we had against Preston and Derby here last month. You'd still like to think on paper they've got enough there to get the job done tonight.
You would do, yeah. I mean, we just talked about Cernach. I mean, any side that has got Borja Sainz and Josh Sargent in the Championship, you're going to have more than an opportunity to win a game, particularly at home, where they've been very good, more often than not. Yeah, there's been the odd stumble. But last time out here, Stoke, I mean, that was a command performance, really. Far better, far bigger, more emphatic margin of victory than it finished 4-2. But obviously, I'm talking about the attacking end of it, and you're just worried about in the middle three for me. With Kenny just in reserve, it'll be interesting how many minutes he thinks he wants to give him, and how they decide to integrate him back into the team tonight. But that concerns me. That middle three, really. You got Marcondes in there. Could he have come into that tonight? But there's no doubt that, and it is an Oxford team who's had a reasonable upturn under Rowett, as they always do with a new manager bounce, but they've struggled more so of late. I'll not check the table, but they're still banging it, aren't they?
Yeah, I think there's a decent cushion. I don't know exactly off the top of my head what it is, but I think, it's no wins in 7. Three defeats on the spin, although I think their performance is speaking to our sort of counterpart who covers Oxford have been a little bit better than the results, certainly under Gary Rowett, and but still one away win all season for them. So it shows where their sort of better performances, their better results have come at the Kassam primarily.
As Norwich found to their cost on that opening day, which was another saga, wasn't it? More and more of a transfer related. I don't know, it's a common denominator there. But I mean, you spoke to him about that and he joked that it felt like 5 years rather than whatever it was, 8 months. But they were so poor that day and so out of kilter with a lot of what we've seen since. But that I wasn't aware of that one away win all season. That tells you that their bulk of their performances and results come at the Kassam. Yeah. So that's why even allowing for some major players missing tonight, you would still think surely that Norwich, particularly of the manner of how that ended last week, if you didn't want to come out and stamp your authority again and try and, if you had any aftertaste of that performance, get it out of your system, why wouldn't you come out and I go back to what I said right at the start, irrespective now of who's not available and who is on this team sheet for Norwich, if they don't win tonight, they don't win against Sheffield, then you can forget about it. I mean, you can probably, there'll be plenty to say, well, forget about it now. It's pipe dream. But you look at the league table, you look at the differential. They play first tonight. You get your first blow in.
Well, they cut the gap tonight.
You don't know. Yeah, and you don't know where the results go around them in the table tomorrow and where they sit at 5 o'clock tomorrow night. So what you don't want is to not uphold your end of the bargain and dare I say it, a draw or even worse tonight, and then it's just like, well, forget about it. Then it looks faintly ridiculous to be talking about a top 6 tilt, because with the greatest respect, if you can't see Oxford off at home, then you've got no business being anywhere in the conversation for the top 6, have you? And nor would you be if you can't get the result here tonight. And nothing that Johannes ever talks about, or how he talks, he would offer excuses in the sense that the players are unavailable tonight. He would be saying to these guys, to Reyes, to Wright, one or two others, if they get their chance, take it. Prove to me that you deserve to be in this lineup moving forward. We know there's a lot of plates spinning, not so much in the short term, but the mid to longer term. These are the sort of nights where maybe players could take a step forward, but nobody's going to kid anybody that it's ideal to be without Gunn and without Nunes, because two of your spine, to take them out is not improving their chances, shall we say. But yeah, I'd still expect that Norwich would have enough to see off Oxford, but who knows now. Everything's
pitch side. I can see him down there speaking with I don't know who they are, fans or sponsors maybe, but yeah, he's got a smile on his face. So hopefully we're all smiling come the final whistle. How do you see it going tonight, Pat? I mean, they've got to win this game. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Oh, they have. Well, they have. Yeah, in as I say, in the narrower confines of a top 6 conversation, up 2-1 Norwich, but leaning heavily on Sargent and Sainz, I think. Because I don't think it's reasonable to expect, without Nunes in and McLean on the bench, that they'll maybe have that control and dominance that they were able to do against Stoke. But still, in the clutch moments, you've got 2 players there who are as good as any in their positions in the Championship. If they can be the difference makers tonight, then yeah, 2-1 for me. You?
Yeah, I'm going to go just 1 goal more for Norwich, 3-1 tonight. But I think they will get the job done. Although I'm concerned about that midfield and creativity. I think they might have to wait until Marcondes is able to come on the pitch. Maybe a Kenny McLean, a Schwartau as well. But hopefully they can connect it, because that front three is good enough to create and score goals as well. They just need that little bit of help. That probably seems like an apt place to leave it this evening. Just to run through the news as well for those of us who joined, those of you who joined us late. No Angus Gunn tonight. That is a hamstring injury. No Marcelino Nunez tonight. That is a hamstring injury as well. That means Vicente Reyes starts in goal for Norwich. Stacey Doyle, Cordoba and Fisher the back 4. Wright, Sorensen, Slimani the midfield 3. Sienat, Sainz and captain Josh Sargent up front. Barden, Duffy, McConville, McLean, JJ, Schwartau, Hernandez, Miles and Marcondes make up the bench. It's going to be an interesting evening, whatever happens. Norwich City need 3 points. Pinkin.com, the place to go throughout the evening. This man will be speaking to Johannes off Torp on, I don't know how long you're going to keep him for tonight. Tonight. Yeah, it might be. I might have to lock the doors and keep us in. So we'll see how we go. But that's the place to go. And we will see you all very soon. Enjoy the game if you're coming to Carrow Road.